I will stay here for the next little while and see you shortly.
So here we are at the Arathusa International Airstrip. The two impala rams that you can see are busy walking down the airstrip. And tranquil scenes here. Well, I think I can possibly hear some thunder rumbling off to the south and west. Oh, and maybe the impala heard it too, and that's why they're jumping for joy, because as you can see, it is extra dry here, and the animals, especially the herbivores, are needing help with regards to moisture. If we look out to the south here, you can see a bit of dark clouds. I mean, it's nothing too serious yet, but I think that hopefully could build into something more serious as the afternoon unfolds. I thought I did hear some thunder rumbling. Andrew, did you hear that, or am I imagining things?
I think I did also.
So that'll be great. So here's a little, look at that interesting structure, a little kind of lookout deck. Never been up there. Maybe I should do that one day. A few tables and chairs, very civilized. The air traffic control tower.
The step over here is broken, so if you do go up, watch out.
Okay, you see Andrew's been up there, he knows that the steps are a bit wobbly. Thank you. And there's this little water hole here, but it doesn't look like anybody's on their way for a drink. I'm sure it's been getting a lot of attention through the course of the day, but nobody appears to be interested in coming across now. So we're going to continue. There are some warthogs that I have seen not too far away. Let's see if we can't get you some views of them. Well, I'm sure a lot of you, especially the new viewers who may have only seen a Bateleur for the first time, are happy that James found them. Incredible birds of prey, and not one, not two, but three. I'm almost certain that he was on Ledwood Road in order to get to that sighting. We've become familiar with those Bateleur that hang around in kind of southeastern corner of Djuma. And again, we're just so fortunate to get to know this area and the animals that live in it to the degree that we have. I haven't got to know this family of warthogs though, so it's going to be nice to spend some time with them. It looks like two different mothers here with their individual sets of piglets that are all very similar size and age. So I'm not sure which ones belong to who, but it's usually 4 piglets per female, not many more than that. So the fact that there's 5 indicate to me that these are both mothers. You can also see that they both clearly have nursing nipples, and they are collectively raising the piglets. More eyes and ears make for a safer environment, certainly. Adrian, you would like to know how long these creatures will survive for out here, and if they survive till adulthood, I would say anywhere up to around 10 years of age would be a ripe old age for a warthog. Look at how cute the piglets are when they go running, tails up in the air. An automatic trigger mechanism that warthogs have. As soon as they start running, that tail pops up vertically. So yeah, Adrian, I'd guess about 10 years, but I don't actually know the exact lifespan. Obviously, I mean, in the African wilds, a lot of animals' lives get cut short by predators. But like I say, I think 10 years would be my guess as to their average age. But I'm happy for you guys to double check me on that. I could well be wrong. And you often find warthogs in and around airstrips in safari areas in Africa, and the reason why they like these areas is because it's safe for them. They also like snacking on short grass. So the fact that they can see far, their foods are here, means that you often find them. It often makes pilots' lives a bit tricky because you often have to buzz the airstrip, chase all the game off it before you land, just to make sure you don't have any accidents, and warthogs are often the main culprits being chased off the airstrips. Just like earlier with that big bull that we saw, or boar rather, you can see these youngsters going down onto their elbows to feed. Rocky Knight, you read my mind. You've just asked for us to please find you a cheetah. And I could think of nothing better than seeing a cheetah here somewhere. As you can see, Andrew's trying to help check the likely spots up in and around termite mounds. But it's been quite some time since we've had reports of cheetah in this area, Rocky Knight. Oh, there goes some Senegal lapwing that you can hear calling. Oh, two more. Wunderbar. Well done, Mr. Andrew. Good. As I was saying though, Rocky Knight, not many cheetah in this general area, and when they are around, they are tricky to track down. Having said that, though, it wasn't too far away from here that I actually did see a cheetah finishing off a dike here, one of the few cheetah sightings we've had in over the year that I've been here on SafariLIVE. I think we've probably only seen them 5 or 6 times collectively amongst all the presenters. And the reason why, for those of you who are new, is because we get such good lion and leopard sightings that it means they kind of outweigh the cheetah in populations, and cheetahs are not nearly as big and strong as lion, and therefore will be killed by both lion and leopard. So a strong competition between those big cats. And hopefully one day we will be doing some live safaris in another part of Africa where there are more cheetah and different animals for us to get to know, because it's one animal that I've hardly spent time with out of all my years in the bush. I've got to know a lot of the African animals very well, but the cheetah is one that I haven't. And that's simply because I've never really worked in cheetah-rich areas or cheetah-dense areas. And being the fastest mammal on the planet, obviously they provide for incredibly good entertainment when they are hunting. And I have been lucky enough to see them successfully hunt and kill on 2 occasions, and their speed is just absolutely frightening. The first time was actually in an open area like this, and we were following the cheetah, and we could see the impala far up ahead, like 200 or 300 meters up ahead. And what happened is that we... Oh, what's that? Is that a steenbok there? Yeah, it's just a steenbok way on the other side. They well spotted, Andrew. There's a little antelope feeding there, fully grown but miniature. As I was saying though, the cheetah we were following, and it was heading straight to these impala, which were about 200 or 300 meters away from us. And when the impala were about 50 or 60 meters away, the cheetah started kind of trotting towards them. So no longer stalking, like it knew it was going to be seen. And the impala saw it and started running. And they had a 50 or 60 meter head start. I mean, that is a massive head start, considering lion and leopard will usually only spring out when they're about 5 to 10 meters away from their prey. And I thought, oh well, you know, that's that. No ways the cheetah is going to succeed. And then the cheetah put the hammer down and started moving at speeds up to, it's kind of 60 miles an hour, even upwards of that. And it made the impala look like they had fridges strapped to their backs. They were basically hardly even moving, and the cheetah gained up with them so quickly they disappeared over a slight ridge while the chase was unfolding. And as we caught up to all the action, all we could see was the impala kicking on the ground with the cheetah busy suffocating it. So they really surprised me by their speed. Good, we're going to send you back to James, who's still with the battalion. Toodaloo.
Hello everybody. Apparently, Tony, you sent through a picture of all 3, and you reckon that the one on the right there's got slightly more brown on his wings, and therefore could be slightly younger perhaps. He's definitely not a juvenile. He's definitely at least 6 or 7 years old, so I definitely wouldn't call him a juvenile. he may be slightly younger than the other one, and he might be related. It's well possible. I don't know, but they have not moved since you were last here with us, so I'm afraid I think we're going to press on from here. Brent is just going, he's tracking this afternoon, and he's just gone round to check where he had the lions this morning, hoping that perhaps they are still there, given that I drove past and didn't see them. I don't think I'm that blind, but it is not impossible. Oh dear. Brian? Right, we'll be staying here. Does it work?
Yeah, it does work. We'll listen for the click.
Still good? Huh? All right, we're going to get back to Scott quickly, and then we'll start the car, and I'll keep you posted.
Well, glad you got another glimpse of the battaliers. And let's hope James manages to get the old rust bucket ticking over again. I'm sure he will. It just requires a little bit of tweaking and trying, but we haven't got to the bottom of what's wrong with that immobilizer. I'm feeling confident we're going to get rain. I can taste it in there, and it's coming from down in that direction where you can see all that dark coloration. So hopefully we're going to get a massive downpour tonight. It'll be great for the environment, but it'll also be great for us because it's wonderful exploring the bush after there's been a good rainpour. Lots of frogs and different animals come out, and the bush becomes alive, which it typically should be every day in summer, but because of the dark, we're not really getting the usual summer joy. To Valerie, you'd like to know if we ever see secretary birds in and around that airstrip, and yes, Valerie, exactly. That is the one place that they get seen more often than anywhere else that I've heard of in our area of Traverse. And a few of the Arethusa guides, that's a wonderful sighting of secretary birds hunting there. And for those of you who don't know what a secretary bird is, it's a bizarre bird of prey, and I'll get out in the book for you quickly. And it's got really long legs. It specializes in hunting snakes, amongst other things. And what it does is it strikes down with its foot in order to kill its prey. Here we go here. And they stand over a meter off the ground, so they're like 1.2, 1.3 meters in height. And long legs. They're called secretary birds because they've got these funny little feathers that stick out of their head, similar to a secretary with her head full of pencils or pens. I guess that was something that secretaries did back in the day when they named this bird. I've never seen a secretary with pens and pencils sticking out of their head, but that's how it got its name. So yeah, I don't know, we've seen a couple on the live drives, but not many. But again, that's not to say that around the next corner there isn't going to be one hammering a puff at it to death. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Obviously more wonderful for us than for the puff adder, but that is the way of life out here. There is a food chain, and in order for certain animals to survive, others need to be consumed. And it's something that we seldom get to see, so I often get quite excited by the prospects of seeing it happening, simply because it's a rarity. Hello to Ray in Idaho, and I'm so happy to hear that you have got a trip planned to the Sabi Sands coming up soon to a camp called Nyati. Look at how pretty this lilac-breasted roller is, and it's just turned around especially for you, Ray, and everyone else. It looks like a youngster to me. Its tail lacks the streamers that the adults have, so this one could well have been born and hatched this year or late last year. Now, Ray, you say you're going to Nyati. It's in the southern Sabi Sands. It's a beautiful camp, I know it well, on the Sand River with beautiful green rolling lawns where hippo often graze every night. And Ray, you will not be seeing animals that we see here. None of the lions that we see you'll see there. I mean, you may see the Salala breakaways, but unlikely. You'll see none of the leopard, possibly the Anderson male. Very, very vague chance you may see him. But no, none of the leopards or lions that we get in this area of the Sabi Sands will go into what is called the western section of the Sabi Sands, which is the area that you're going to. But what I can assure you is that you are going to get spoilt. It's a very productive area. There's quite a few vehicles that traverse that western section. So what that means is that there's a lot of animals that are often located. So I'm sure you're going to have a great time with lots of sightings there. And what I do know is that there's a female leopard there called Tlanganisa, who's got 3 little cubs at the moment. They're probably, I'm guessing, about 2 months old, just judging from the size of them in the videos that I've been watching. So if those 3 are still alive when you get here, you're going to be in for a treat. So that's something to look forward to. There's also the Majingaline coalition of lions which move through that area. So they're getting quite old now, reaching towards the end of their reign. But sad, you know, you'll see none of the characters that you know of from our safaris. As far as game goes and general animals that we see here, yes, you'll certainly see them. It's not far away at all. I mean, if we started walking now, we could be at a Nyati camp probably by sunset, a brisk walk. So it's not far away at all. But the animals that we see here don't travel that far in terms of the lions and the leopards. But the general game, certainly, there won't be any differences. What will be different is you'll get to see a large river flowing through. I'm not sure how high the Sand River is at the moment, but beautiful scenery along a large river that flows through this reserve that we obviously don't get to show you. So that'll be a very, very welcome change of scenery that, like I said, that'll be something that you'll notice is very different. There's also quite a few little mountains and rocky outcrops in and around Nyati. But if I get to a high point, Ray, I'll even be able to show you those little rocky outcrops where there's a camp called Ulusaba, which is very close to Nyati. Hello to Zoomy Mike in Michigan. You'd like to know if the rainfall in the surrounding areas won't fill up the rivers that flow into the Sabi Sands, and yes, they certainly will. The Drakensberg mountain range is only about 30 miles away roughly, and it's a massive catchment area that feeds into the rivers, and these rivers do flow through community land, rural land, before coming into the reserve. So that means a couple of things. Even though there's a large catchment area that would have many years ago filled up the streams without any humans intercepting that water between there and here, that now has changed. There are many farms and many people that will intercept, like I say, that water before it gets to us. So even though, yes, there are mountains that will feed the rivers that flow here, there's various factors that affect that flow of water. And what's interesting, Mike, is that you can get caught out, and guides who have to cross the Sand River, or who have the opportunity to cross the Sand River, may cross the river in the early afternoon, and there may not be a drop of rain anywhere around us, but because of rain that's fallen far away, that river can rise drastically, and it's kind of flash flood, and you can get stuck on the other side of the river. A friend of mine had that very thing happen to him with a brand new Land Rover that he drowned, and along with nearly drowning his guests, who were terrified obviously for their lives as their vehicle got stuck in this middle of this rising river. Thankfully we had a massive firefighting vehicle called the Buffalo. It was a Unimog basically that could go into the river and pull the Land Rover out. But it is a problem that the guides actually face. They come across beautiful sunny afternoon, they get back to the river and it's rising drastically from rain in the catchment area. But obviously because we haven't been down there or don't have access to the Sand River, I don't have an idea of how heavily it's flowing. Obviously I know that it's a drought, so I'm guessing it's not going to be flowing as it normally would in summer. I haven't actually seen any footage of it. So my plan for the last hour is possibly to do a few laps around where Karula's den site is, in the hope that we may either catch a glimpse of her heading back to the den, moving out of the den, or jackpot prize will be to see her carrying one of those tiny little fluff balls in her mouth to another den site. It is a possibility. It could happen anywhere whilst driving around on Juma. We could come around the corner and see her there. So that's something that I'm wishfully thinking about. Failing that, we might find some tracks that are leaving that general area and be able to track her to where she's currently feeding on a kill, for example. So it's not a complete waste of time spending some time circling the block. So there's basically 3 roads that we can drive, and in the middle of that is where her den is. To Gracie, and yes, you can play in that tree house. I know Andrew and Brent often spend time playing up there, and Gracie, next time I go across to Arathusa, I'll make sure to go up there and tell you what it's like. Like I said, I've never actually been up there myself, but next time I go I'll take up, or maybe we'll be able to take the bushwalk equipment there, and that way we'll be able to take all of you up there and see what the view is like. That's not idea. I think some of you may have actually been up. But Gracie, good idea. I think we should go and maybe have a cup of tea up there, have a tea party and play, and maybe wait and see what animals come to drink at that little waterhole below. Exactly, and Jerry's just made a great suggestion, and maybe James will be able to bring Safari Ken along that he made for you for the tea party. Karula, where are you hiding? Come on. Feeling that we just need to go quickly to where, I'm not too sure, but we are going quickly with purpose, and hopefully something will then happen. To an unconfirmed appointment with who knows who, we're going to send you back to James.
I believe Scott was shaking about a bit. You know, that's what Scott does, he shakes about. I'm not sure what that means, actually, so let's forget it. We're driving along the cheetah cut line, Brent went to where he saw the lions before. He saw one ear sticking up at about 100 meters. So we figured even with the tap zoom that we have on this camera, unless we had a sort of Hubble Space Telescope sized lens, there wasn't going to be any point in hanging about. So we've come straight up here to see what else there is. I haven't found any tracks or anything, but what I have seen, and I'm going to just whip perpendicular for you, is an amazing cloud coming up, which is brilliant news. That looks, to me, like it could be a storm. So I think it was thunder that we heard earlier. So it's incredible how my mood, and I mean, I said nothing to Brian, but his mood also seems to have gone up immediately as we spotted this amazing grey cloud coming over. The sky's blue in front of the cloud. There's obviously lots of moisture there. The light is being diffused. It's just suddenly turned from a washed out, fairly sort of bland, droughty afternoon to one that is very spectacular indeed. Magnificent. Anyway, I'm feeling quite buoyed with life. Hello, Adrian. You are a new viewer, and you want to know if it is Saturday or Sunday here. Adrian, I'm going to ask you, before I tell you that, I'm going to ask you where in the world you are from. Tell us quickly where you're from, and then I'm going to tell you whether it's Saturday or Sunday. It doesn't actually make a difference, but I'm just interested to know where you are in the world. I will answer your question. So quickly, hashtag SafariLIVE us again and tell us where in the world you're watching from. And that goes for everybody. Please tell us where you're from when you talk to us. It's so fascinating to know whereabouts in the world you are. We've got Mr. and Mrs. Moustache in Iceland at the moment, regularly talking to us. Mrs. Moustache was very kind. She told us the other day that she doesn't, in fact, have large amounts of facial hair, which I'm sure is a relief to her and indeed to Mr. Moustache himself. Our plan at the moment is to just check the cut line here and then head down towards Buffelshoek Dam and see what's going on there. And I want to park on the wall there and see what the sky looks like. I wonder if we won't perhaps see Mvula doing the same thing. Lovely update there from Simone or Simon, depending on your bent. You say that the oldest recorded bird in the wild is an albatross. I didn't know that at all. Thank you very much for it. Do you know how old it was, Simon? Maybe you could tell us that. I'd love to know how old that bird was, the albatross. Right, we're now at the far northeastern corner of Djuma, possibly the highest point. Now, Adrian, you're in Georgia. You'll be in Georgia. And so, Georgia, obviously, it is Saturday morning. It is Saturday afternoon here, Adrian. In Georgia, you're probably running, if I'm not mistaken, are you on Central Time? I think you're probably on, what do they call it, Central Standard Time or something like that in the States, which would put you, your Eastern Time is 6 hours behind us, so you're probably about 7 hours behind us now. And so while it is pushing 6 o'clock here, it is probably 9 o'clock in the morning there. Is that right, Brian? Yes, makes sense. No, it's 11 o'clock in the morning. It's 1800 hours here. It's probably 11 o'clock in the morning there. How's that, Adrian? Still Saturday. We're 7 hours in front of you. Now there's suddenly this kind of air of expectation around the afternoon that we see this cloud coming up. It's incredible, the energy of how it changes. Let's go down here. Hello, Julianne. Very nice question. Does it only ever rain here at night? Julianne, it apparently never rains here at all. I will forgive you for thinking that because, of course, it doesn't seem to rain much when we're on drive. It just hasn't rained at all this year, Julianne. We have had, I think we've lost, what, maybe 4 drives, Brian? Maybe 4 drives to rain this year. Normally, Julianne, the big storms would come during the evening. So round about now is when they'd start. And then they'd dissipate by the time sort of 7 or 8 o'clock came around. And if it's a big storm, I mean, it doesn't rain here hard often for longer than an hour. So they really are short, sharp storms. But one of the reasons, I mean, you're obviously not watching every single hour of every show. But, yeah, I mean, even a random selection of our shows will indicate to you that it never rains here. Sorry, excuse me, a bit of air coming up out of my stomach, which I had to let go in a genteel fashion, as opposed to belching like a buffalo on screen, which would just be deeply unattractive, wouldn't it, Brian? Yeah. Oh, dear. And a comment from Emily Wallington on Twitter. Emily is in Johannesburg. Hello, Emily. Very nice to hear from you. I'm glad that I haven't said anything untoward on the drive so far. Welcome back from America. And you say there's a big storm in Johannesburg at the moment. I love a Johannesburg storm. I obviously grew up in Johannesburg, and they have the most wonderful storms there, everyone. It gets very dark very quickly, exploding thunder all over the place, lightning flashing. I just find it the most exciting thing. And that's why when a storm starts to build here, I get all very jittery and excited. We watch out for that storm, Emily. There can also be lots of hail in Johannesburg. Now this, believe it or not, is a symptom of drought as well. Here we have a black monkey thorn acacia, Acacia burkii, and the black monkey thorn, of course, is a tree that is eaten by elephants, but elephants would normally be grazing at this time of the year. They wouldn't be pushing trees over. But if you look around the base of that black monkey thorn, you can see that it is just, you know, there's nothing there. There's no grass at all on the ground. And so the elephants are still eating trees as they would be in the dead of the winter time. And so the trees are taking a bit of a hammering. Now, this is not a negative thing, I don't believe. It is entirely in keeping with the natural order of things. This area, the whole of this continent of ours, it's evolved, it's developed through cycles of extreme drought and extreme flood. So it's not unusual, it's perfectly normal. You might even find that this tree survives. But we tend to think that things should be at some kind of equilibrium when we look at an area like this. So if it floods, we think, oh, it's flooding too much. If there's a huge drought, we think, oh, it's too dry. There's no too dry and too wet, especially in a place like this. And it's totally normal for Africa to experience these huge dips in climate. There's a wonderful book called Africa, Biography of a Continent by a British chap called John Reader. And it's an incredible tome of work, but he just describes how that kind of cycle of drought and flood has so affected the way African societies have developed and learned to cope in extreme environments. Oh. Laura, very interesting question. You've been watching Pete's Pond, which is in Mashatu in Botswana, and you say you guesstimate roughly 350 miles away. In kilometers, that would put us at about 5 550k. Yeah, it's probably about right, Laura. I'd say that's probably about right. And you say that there isn't a drought there at the moment. I think you'll find it's probably not nearly as extreme as it is here. I think they have had later rain than they would have expected normally, and it will be slightly down on what it is normally. But that said, it's probably, you know, they're probably round about normal rainfall. It's also a much drier area. Mashatu, that part of Botswana, is basically on the very tip of the Kalahari Desert. And so where we get about 550 to 600 millimeters of rain in a normal year, so at Mashatu, I suspect you'll be getting probably no more than 300 to 350. So yes, it won't look nearly as affected by a lack of rain as this area will. Very nice. Thank you, Laura. Right, so that's Buffelshoek Dam. And Laura, your second question then is, how far does this drought extend? Well, over the course of what has been a very miserly rainy season, I don't think it's hanging around here, Brian. There's not a great deal to see. Ooh, what is that bird? That is the lory. There is a grey go-away bird there in the middle of Buffelshoek Dam, not a place that a grey go-away bird is normally allowed to be. Can you see it there? There it is. There we go. There we go. Let's double tap him. Now, Laura, you want to know how far does the drought extend? It's actually extended to most of the country this year. The farming areas, the breadbasket of South Africa and the Free State on the Highveld has been devastated by a drought. And the growth season has finished. So although they're here, he's right here. So although we are getting a little bit of rain now, sorry, he's just behind those leaves, everyone. I don't want to move the car in case he flies away. I'm going to have to. Let's just go a little bit forward. So Laura, it's devastated the Free State, the breadbasket part of the country, and it means that we're going to have to import quite a lot of maize and wheat this year. Although they have received some rain now. There he is. That's the bird that we're looking at, the grey go-away bird. Just don't go away, please, bird. There we go. Isn't he lovely? That's fantastic. So, Laura, and then where my folks are in the Eastern Cape, it hasn't been too bad. The Cape Province, the Western Cape, well, it's always dry this time of year. I think they had a fairly dry winter too, though, this year. So it really has been countrywide. And I think we'll find probably dissipated slowly up towards Central Africa, but most of Southern Africa has experienced a definitely well below average rainfall year, and that's because of El Nino. I like the way I said that, Brian.
El Nino.
There we go. That's what I was hoping for. Because of El Nino, which is a totally, to me, unfathomable weather pattern that comes through every so often. Wonderfully insightful question. Thank you for that, Laura. And I hope I've given it a satisfactory answer. Isn't that a magnificent little bird? He's quite a big bird, actually. He's about the size of an African grey parrot, if you've ever seen one. Or a small chicken. My mother did a birding course once when I was at school, and it was at a stage when I was disinterested in all things to do with nature. I had just discovered that, I just discovered girls, really. And one of the things that they were taught in her birding school was that the first thing you do when you see a bird is to decide, is it the size of a sparrow, a chicken, or a crow? Not sure why the chicken was thrown in there, and that would be about chicken-sized, I suppose. See the golden light just coming out of the west now? It makes such a difference when it's dissipated by some moisture and cloud in the sky. Stunning. Ooh, another bird list. Mary in Michigan. You say you've got 168 birds on your list at the moment, and you got a new one today. I suspect quite strongly that was the black cuckoo shrike. All right, let's leave the grey go-away bird. He has much more colourful cousins that live down sort of south of here, on the rivers, anywhere where there's permanent water, you get beautiful, what we call luries or taracos. Taracos. I will just find you a picture of one. You'd think after 10 years of using this book, I would not need to consult the index anymore. Unfortunately, such is the way that my mind was designed. Right. Isn't that stunning, everyone? Right, there are the taracos or luries, and that's the grey go-away bird, the least sort of impressive, I don't want to say impressive, but least colourful member of the taraco family. And then the other one we get in this area is this fellow here, and that's the purple-crested lurie. And above him, the lovely Neisner lurie, which lives around the Eastern Cape where my folks live, and they are just the most beautiful birds. Marvellous. Thank you. Okay, let's head across to Scott, get an update from him. Apparently he has an update on the mother, and let's find out about that. I don't think he's with her, but with any luck he is. I don't know. See you just now.
So we are sitting here hoping that some francolins that left their little area of cover behind us in a state of distress, letting out their alarm call as they flew off. We're hoping that they have been disturbed by Karula, the mother, who, interestingly enough, the first time we followed her back to her den site, which is, and then also the grey go-away bird that James has been showing you guys now, thereafter, came from somewhere in that direction. So if we are lucky, she's going to be moving back towards the den. The reason why I think she's hopefully moving back towards the den is that I actually had some tracks of hers in the same riverbed, but further downstream. We're currently driving upstream, about half a mile downstream. We had some of her tracks heading away from the den, and she also had deposited a dropping along the riverbed, and I got out at a close look at that dropping. It was rock solid, so it had been dried by the sun today, so it's probably from early last night or sometime early this morning that she moved down there. Now she could be making her way back to nurse the cubs. All speculation, but at least we have had some sign of what is in all likelihood her. She's the only female leopard that will be moving through this area, unless of course there's a unexpected visitor, which does happen of course from time to time. Thanks very much to Cecilia for your kind words, noting that we try wherever possible to give the animals as much respect and as much space as is feasibly possible, and we do really appreciate those kind words. We all are hugely in love with the bush, and that's why we work here. It's certainly not for the money, so our love for the animals is kind of paramount, and then the job falls. And this is the little tributary that she headed straight up, and it's further up this tributary that the den site is not far, only about 200 meters. But yes, the majority of us work in the bush because we love nature, and that's what brings us here. So that's the fundamental reason why all of us, or most of us, are actually here. And I guess the job is just a way to keep ourselves alive in this day and age where you obviously need money to survive. You would like to know if the Kruger Park is a trans-frontier park which opens to other countries. Yes, it certainly is. It opens to Mozambique as well as Zimbabwe in the northeastern corner of the reserve. The whole boundary, Ubawala, of the Kruger National Park. Let me get out the map here quickly. So this whole eastern boundary is open to Mozambique. Right in this northern corner, kind of the Mozambican boundary will continue, will kind of go out like that, and Zimbabwe will start in the north. So there's a small portion of the reserve at the top here that does open into Zimbabwe, but the majority opens east, all into Mozambique. And this fence is dilapidated. I mean, here's a border post, Giriondo border post, so that's your way to cross through the park into the Mozambican section. But this fence is dilapidated. I worked in an area over here in Wanetsi, and we are currently kind of in this area over here, where my finger's covering. And so not far north of us and to the east is Wanetsi concession, where I used to work in the past, a beautiful concession. And this fence is dilapidated. I mean, it's hardly a fence. It opens into rural bush in Mozambique, but the animals move basically at will through that dilapidated fence into Mozambique. So even though there is a fence, it's hardly functional, nothing like the western fence of the Kruger National Park, where there's a lot more humans and developments, and therefore this fence needs to be fully electrified, keeping animals away from humans. Here, you get kind of people living as they did many, many years ago, off the land. And that's why I guess they are kind of at one with the animals. But it also gives you an idea of how the rest of the Africa is suited and or not suited, how the rest of Africa is currently, and that is that a lot of wildlife destinations in Africa are unfenced, and animals can roam wherever they want. And there are good aspects to that, but there's also negative aspects to that. For me, the best scenario is for animals and humans to be kept away from one another, unless, of course, it's people who are trained and know what they're doing in the bush, taking people around. Yeah, something interesting to think about, that many, many parts of Africa are unfenced and animals can roam and therefore cause trouble with people and their crops and not be protected. But that is the continent that we live on and the realities behind it. Karula's den is literally 20 meters down to our left here somewhere. It's just in here somewhere. I'm not too sure. I think it's a little bit behind us there now. Yeah, it's just behind us where we've driven past. In the steep bank, kind of overhang in the steep bank in this riverbed. Even though we can drive quite close to where the den is, along this road, we can't see into it from there, and we don't want to do anything abnormal. Obviously, driving along this road is going to be fine, but we don't want to start poking our noses in there just yet. It's too soon. To Billy in Texas, you would like to know, if I did not live in South Africa, where in the world would I consider living? And probably up in Kenya or Tanzania, wonderful, wonderful countries where I've spent quite a lot of time. I spent the 2 years prior to starting on SafariLIVE. I spent 2 years up in Tanzania and Kenya. And yeah, I love the less developed countries like Kenya and Tanzania. South Africa is far more developed than most other African countries. So we are first world, you could say, in relation to a lot of the other African countries. And of course there are benefits to that, but I love raw, real Africa with untouched wilderness areas without fences around them, like I've just been discussing, which you don't really get in South Africa anymore, or you don't. So yeah, maybe Kenya, Tanzania, somewhere like that. But there's lots of places that I still need to explore before I make any concrete decisions, and I'm getting that kind of urge at the moment for exploration, itchy feet. So maybe it's about time that we do a little bit of a tour elsewhere to change the scenery. But yeah, I really do love Kenya, and if it wasn't for this job, I would have probably gone back there. Those were the plans before I heard about this opportunity to join SafariLIVE. It's funny how the world works. Like I said, I was planning on going back to Kenya, but this wonderful opportunity presented itself to me. Just as this beautiful big waterbug bull has presented itself to us now. A fine specimen. Actually, you'd like to know why we don't see any baby waterbuck, and I do not know the answer to that question. I guess just bad luck, really. We do see them from time to time, I guess, and they must be having babies, otherwise there wouldn't be any here at all. So keep tuning into the safaris and you will get lucky. But we don't have huge waterbuck populations here. And they are born looking exactly as they will become, or as they do look when they're adults. They don't change much. They're not like wildebeest, for example, who are born a very different coloration to when they become older. So they look just like miniature versions of the adults. Obviously, there's a cute factor, like there is with impala, who again look like the adults, but are understandably cute because they are tiny. Oh, we're going to have to turn around and show you this beautiful sunset quickly. It's not quite there yet, but the colors that are coming through are absolutely awesome. Ta-da! Absolutely wonderful evening. And there's a crested francolin just meters away from us, calling incredibly loudly, almost deafeningly loud. What an awesome scene this is. And I think we should all get comfortable and just enjoy a few moments of silence. Well, fantastic. And I hope you all enjoyed that little breather and little time for silence and solitude. And I think because we kind of half turned around, we're going to fully turn around and head back the way we came. Again, I've just got a lucky feeling this tree crept up on me. Near miss. Won't be the first time we've crashed, though, on a live safari, that's for certain. So I think we're going to send you back to James now. Enjoy.
Hello everybody, we're just having something of a sunset competition, I suppose. I'm just removing the front aerial so that you may have unfettered access to the beauty of the African sunset. This is not the most spectacular African sunset I've ever seen, and that's not to insult it at all. It's just because that cloud seems to already have dissipated slightly. So far from dumping a load of magnificent rain on us, it is going away, but that is very pretty, very l'orange. Oh, that's That's actually magnificent. Ooh. That looks like a painting. I wonder how many painters we have out there. If you happen to be a painter, let us know and perhaps paint us a picture of this incredible sunset. Especially if you're a younger viewer. I tell you what, there we go. If you're a younger viewer, and by younger I mean anywhere sort of younger than 85 or maybe younger than 16, send us a picture, draw us a picture of that sunset and send it through to us. I'd love to see your impressions of it. This is very stunning indeed. I'm now trying to copy Brian's shot with my phone. Because Brian is, of course, very artistic. Marvelous. Beautiful. Oh, I haven't plugged myself in. I'm not sure if Jerry's talking to me or not. Dropping things, throwing things around the back. So, lovely update from Indiana there, where apparently the temperature is sitting at a fairly balmy 35 degrees. I'm assuming you mean Celsius, at least Fahrenheit, which is astonishingly hot for this time of year, I would have thought. So thank you for that update, and apparently almost no snow, which I think is very interesting indeed. Now, everybody, that is the sun, that is not a moon. It does look a little bit like a moon, but what you can see if you look at the sun with that kind of exposure is, I suppose you can sometimes see you'll see the aurora, you'll see how irregular the surface of the sun is. You can see the great boiling mass of fusion going on there. Now, for those of you who don't know this, and those of you who are perhaps younger viewers, that sun that we are looking at now is a huge ball of hydrogen gas, and all that hydrogen is combining to form another gas called helium. And the reaction by which that happens is called fusion. It's the same reaction that happens in a hydrogen bomb. And so there are billions and billions of hydrogen bombs going off on the sun there now. And that's where that incredible energy from so far away is being produced. Can you see a sunspot? Yeah. Oh, that thing in the middle. Look at that, everyone. You can see a sunspot. Brilliant. That sort of dark bit there in the middle is a sunspot, which is a dark speck on the surface of the sun. I'm not sure how it's formed. Do you know, Brian?
It's a large coronal mass.
A large coronal mass, where there is obviously not a lot of nuclear fusion going on. Is that amazing? And for those of you who don't know, that sort of anomaly that we've seen that's just popped up there would have happened 8 minutes before we saw it. It takes 8 minutes for the light of the sun to reach us here on Earth. Now, if you're particularly mathematically minded, you can tell us how far away the sun is in kilometers, given that you now know that the speed of light is 300,000 kilometers per second. Yes, stunning. Billy, in Texas, you want to know where, if I didn't live in South Africa, where in the world I would choose to live. Billy, I would probably try and find somewhere else in Africa if I had to leave here. So maybe, I believe Ethiopia is actually a spectacular place to be at the moment. Rwanda's a nice, stable place to go. Namibia and Botswana are both very beautiful, but they're a bit dry for me. I think I'd like a bit more moisture than that. Maybe Kenya or Tanzania. So I think that's maybe where I'd try and live. But I guess, as with anywhere, you'd want to try and live somewhere, and if it worked out, then you'd stay there, and if it didn't work out, then you'd go away from there. And I guess that's how I would approach having to live somewhere other than the magnificent African continent. I don't know otherwise. England's a bit wet for me. I think South America, nobody would understand anything I said to them. Australia seems to be a bit regulated compared with South Africa. The States, they wouldn't let me in. So, yeah, I don't know. Very interesting question. I have relatives in Canada. It's definitely too cold for me in Canada. Right. Let us go and see the hyenas. We're just near the den now. I just want to put me sunnies away. Should you want to wait here, Brian? Okay, Brian wants to wait here and just watch the last embers of the sun go down, which I think is a reasonable request. So I think that's what we'll do, if it's all right with you. Try and work out for me a huge shout out to anybody. A huge shout out to anybody who can tell me in kilometers how far away that sun is, given that the speed of light is 300,000 kilometers per second, and it takes 8 minutes for the sun's light to reach us. All right, I'm being instructed from the final control that the sunset, although beautiful, is not going to compare with the hyenas. So let us go and see the hyenas. I think that's fair enough. We're not far away, just a few meters. Hello, Gracie. Nice to hear from you today on Saturday afternoon, where I imagine it's probably just about afternoon in Ohio. You want to know if we get tulips here, because they're your favorite flower, pink tulips, I think you said. Gracie, no tulips here. You can buy them in some of the shops, but they don't grow naturally here. So I'm afraid not. No tulips here in South Africa, Gracie. But we have lots of other beautiful flowers that I'm sure you'd love. Not many this year because we haven't had much rain. Hyenas. Oh, there's one adult at least. Oh, and the little one, Before we go any closer, there's my first sighting of the little cub. Look, don't go inside, stay out. Or is it? It is the little one. Look, those are the January ones. Oh, sorry, we've been topped. There's a leopard on the move. Let's go to Scott.
Well, we were about to call you back to show you her fresh tracks, but even better, we've got the mother. The Queen of Juma. You can see that extra flap of skin. At the back of her belly, there's signs of a leopard that's just given birth. And she's obviously just leaving the den now, after having checked in on the cubs. Who knows how many are there? Isn't it going to be awesome to one day find out? But at least we found her, and then we can see she's in good shape. Absolutely awesome. So she's heading straight north away from the den. The den is behind us. And literally, as I was calling in on the Game Drive channel that we've got some fresh tracks of her, we could see they were just crisp and well defined. There she was, in the road, right in front of us. So we're in luck, at least we get to see her. Not her cubs just yet. But who knows, maybe we'll get to see her hunting, making a kill, or she may take us back to where she already has a kill stashed. That's highly possible. And it looks like she's just going to drop down into a riverbed here, which is going to make staying with her a bit tricky. So our timing was fortunate. Show you one last glimpse of it disappearing there, because that may be the end of it. And I wonder,
I've seen her go into the holes there at that.
you see, that's very interesting. And I was just thinking that very same thing, Andrew, is that this is the termite mound where some of you may have seen her excavating with Brent, and she may just be going in there just to double check. Is it still a good plan B? Who knows? Maybe her cubs are in there now. But because of the sensitivity around the cubs, I'm not going to go crashing in there to check. But at least we've had a brief glimpse of her. We're going to stay here and keep an eye on the situation. We'll be sure to call you back if anything does happen. But like I said, I don't want to off-road here, even though we know that she has excavated here before. We're just going to stop and listen and see what happens. And while we do that, we're going to send you back to James and the hyenas.
Right, so we're still at the hyena den. Very exciting that you've seen Karula, and she seems to be trying to excavate some other kind of den. It's good news, everybody. It means that she's obviously still got the cub, and the cub is probably fine and healthy, and that's why she's organising another den. So that's great news. The little youngster that I saw, that's obviously Madam there that you can see at the den site, at the den entrance. And Madam, we think, is the matriarch. And look at these two. Look at the little Lees. Look at our little December cubs here. One on the left is D1. On the right. Look at that. And you can see that because of the little white bit on the right back foot. That's fantastic. I'm just taking a quick shot. I'm taking a quick shot with my phone. This is, of course, how Brian and I shot that little video the other day. Fantastic. Beautiful shot. Beautiful hyena. I love how confiding they become because they're so used to us. There's a few more coming up here. No. And that one there, that juvenile, not juvenile, I suppose, but, well, she is still juvenile, I think is probably one of the, maybe juniors. This is just so spectacular. Look. Oh, the matriarch is up. Something's going on. Definitely moving off to look at something. That's very interesting. Do you think it's worth following, Brian? Should we give chase? Okay, we're just going to see, there's a very big drainage line there, so they have stopped. There's a huge drainage line there. If they go into it, there's no ways we'll be able to follow them through, everyone. But let's, while we can, just try and follow them. Something's going on there. Sorry, little chaps. Sorry to disturb you. And Brian was saying this morning they looked very full. One of them there had a very sort of looked like blood-riddled face. There they all are. They're all standing over there. Wait here. They must have heard something to have come running down here or smelt something, and you can see This hyena in front of us there, sorry, excuse my head, has definitely got a very kind of, I think it's a face full of blood, basically. That's why it's that colour. Very full belly. That's corky. One of them's calling just over to the side there. They are just so fantastic, these hyenas. One of them's laying down. And here comes the other. This one also looks like its face has got some sort of darkened blood on it. So maybe they made a good kill last night. In fact, she's covered in muck. I don't see the one with an injured neck. Well, there are two adults coming now out of the bush beyond us. Let's just wait and let's wait here and see if they come past. Covered in muck. Looks like a male to me. I might be wrong, but it looks like a male to me. And there the others come. So let's look out for that female who seemed to have an injured neck. Bit of a conversation going on there. Here comes the next one. I'm not sure what these two are talking about. I'm just going to sneak a little bit forward. I don't want to disturb them, but in fact I'm not, because here comes another one past us. Better work that out. Here we go. Also looks to be hanging slightly in the belly. Wonder if we hear them. They're so close that you can hear their footfalls. Okay, let's go back to the den. Let's go and see what the cubs are doing there. Now, Ellen and Gilly and many others, you say that the sun is 93 million miles away from the Earth. Now, did you work that out using the information that I gave you? Or did you just know that? I always have to work it out. I can never remember it. Thank you for your answers. 93 million miles multiplied by 1.6 will give you the number of kilometers. So about 140 million kilometers, if I'm not mistaken. Let's just ease our way in here. Why, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's June, and why she should be a bit nervous of the vehicles, I'm not sure. Anyway, they're all around there. I'm not sure if we can... Oh, there's some cubs there. We'll try and ease around that way. Not sure if it's possible to ease there, though. Make a bit of a noise. Watch your heads, everyone. Merry old time around here. Oh, they're coming back. Let me just stop here. And there's one in the den. This will work out fine. There we go. So sweet. This is precisely what I was hoping for. Some good quality time with the hyenas. Gerda, I agree with you completely. You say there's never a dull moment here at the hyena den. No, there isn't. There's always something fun going on here. It's a little one now, too close for Brian to film. He's currently investigating Rusty's left front tyre. Lots of talking going on. I'm just keeping an eye on the hole to see if the little ones don't come out. Brian, can you even see this one? Hi. Look how close that is. That's less than sort of 3 feet. D2, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's probably actually November. Apparently I've sounded a bit muffled. It's because I dropped my microphone off my shirt somehow. That should be a bit better now. I'm loathed to reverse and smash. I'm going to have to. I'm going to just try and reverse gently over this log so that we can get a view of those interacting hyenas there. Okay, Brian? There we go. It's not too bad. How's that? Is that all right? There we go. Right, well, I've kind of been under the impression that come sort of 20 minutes before dark that the adults go off and forage, but maybe I'm wrong, but certainly it would seem to have been the case the last few nights. But I think maybe because they ate last night, or it looks like they ate last night, they're hanging around a bit longer than they might ordinarily. Anyway, lovely to have them all out here. Everyone seems to be on fairly friendly terms. no sign yet of the female with her injury. Not that I've seen anyway. That's Corky there. Well, that's Corky there in front of us. She had a good meal last night. See how close they are. They love the That's an interesting one. The hyena with the neck wound, apparently Jamie said, may well have been spending time away from the den because of its neck wound to get away from the cubs. Perhaps the cubs were licking it and irritating her. Yeah, that could well be possible. May well be why she's not here. And I know there was a hyena the whole day at the Gallagher waterhole, and perhaps that was her. I didn't see it myself. Now, Paul Rizzo, one of these hyenas, I think, is June. You say, do I recognize her at all? I thought it was that kind of light-colored one that we've just been watching, but I've just seen that there's another one, and I wonder if they aren't, one of them isn't Bella. This might be June right next to us. There. I think that could be June. It is just spectacular, actually. Look how close they are. Isn't it wonderful? And it does look like they're ready to start chewing tires indeed, as Jerry says. I'm trying to get a shot of how close that hyena is. I'm not sure that my camera managed that though in this light. What a wonderful privilege this is. Oh. Yes, Nicole, very good point. On Twitter, you say porky corky because of...
Shame, some unexpected technical difficulties there over on Mr. Henry's vehicle, and the little pea shooter, the little camera that they've got has been playing up. So obviously they're just going to need to change the battery. There's still a chance you'll get to see him before the end of the safari, and sorry to rush you away from the hyena den. It sounds like you're all having a good time there. Some interesting action going on. I'm not too sure what happened in the end with the audio and the hyena running off in different directions, but some excitement certainly. Now an update on Karula. We stood by where you last left us for quite some time. She didn't appear to go further upstream, and then what we did is we looped back and did a very, very big wide arc, and from about 40 meters away we got a view onto the other side of that termite mound. It was through bushes. There's no ways that we would have been able to show you with the camera from that distance, but she was lying up at an entrance into that termite mound, but just on the other side that we saw disappearing around towards. So who knows? Maybe she's already moved the cubs there, or maybe she was just going to lie there. We don't know, and I guess we're never going to know the final answer to it. But as soon as I established that she was there, I just moved out, and like I say, we can guess as to whether she's moved the cubs or not, but there's no way of being certain, and I didn't want to spend any further time in that area. Again, we're treating it very, very sensitively, and I just wanted to confirm that she hadn't moved off where we could relocate her. And obviously if we keep finding her heading to that spot and not to the old den or the confirmed den, then we'll be able to fairly safely assume that she has moved them a short distance for whatever reason she may have wanted to. Matty. How are you doing? Good to know you on board with us again. And you'd like to know if she would ever bring a kill back to the den. And no, they certainly wouldn't. She would leave the kill far away, because if she brought it back, it would mean she could possibly bring lions and hyenas and other animals that also want to feed on that kill. Anyway, I need to race you back to the den. Bye-bye, Matty.
So the little ones, the little babies, have come out again, briefly. So this is January 1, and I think there's a January 2, isn't there, Brian? I've only ever seen one of them. That's the first time I've seen it. Were there two there? Now, of course, this is all going to get very confusing when they start to breed again this year, and we have a second June, 2nd November. But we'll cross that. Oh, there they are too. Look at them. Oh, that's so exciting. Oh, wow. So just to reiterate, this is my first time to see them. We knew they were here. And Carol on Twitter, I could not agree with you more. You say hyenas are just the best. They've shown us some drama, they've shown us emotion, they've shown us high action. Absolutely, I think that they are just the most fantastic creatures. And we have been so privileged to spend the amount of time that we have with them. Isn't that wonderful? So sweet. Now she, unlike any hyena I've ever seen before, seems to go almost into the den to suckle them. So she sticks her backside right inside. Now, Alice in Ohio, you ask an interesting question. You want to know if Corky and Madam are the same hyena. Alice, they are not the same hyena. Madam, we think, is actually the matriarch. And she is most certainly not the same as Corky. Madam, that's Madam there that you're looking at. And Madam has got the kind of she's got scraggly ears, and then Corky, where that exactly the part of the head there that you can see on Madam, on Corky, that's got three very distinctive little scars on it. And this, directors are just saying to me they don't think this is Madam because the ears are not, yeah, I think they're right. The ears on this hyena are not nearly torn up enough. So that isn't Madam. Maybe a younger sibling, at least an older sibling of the two cubs. And that's why she's kind of looking after them in the hole. That's really well noticed. Hello, Billy. You're on Twitter, and you want to know if I'm afraid that a hyena might jump into the vehicle ever. Billy, I'm not, because I've seen many, many hyenas close by like this, and they've never jumped in the vehicle. It's a bit like with the lions and the leopards. They just are very comfortable around us, and so they don't tend to feel like jumping into the vehicles at all. They don't see us as something to eat. They don't see us as a threat. And so they're very confiding about it. All right, I'm afraid we've run out of light, everybody. The camera is pushed to the max. So we're going to leave here. Okay, that's going to be it from me. Let's head back across to Scott. He can tell you, or have you, for the last few minutes of the drive. Thank you, Brian, for everything. Well done. Thank you to the final control. And we'll hand you over to Scott for the final minutes. There's the thumb. See you tomorrow morning, bright and early, 05:30. See you then.
So happy you did get back onto James's vehicle at the Hyena Den. Wonderful stuff, and I think I'm overdue a visit there, and probably worth popping in maybe tomorrow morning before Nikki and I head off for 1 week of leave, which we're really looking forward to. We're going to be staying locally in the surrounding areas, doing some exploring in the Drakensberg Mountains that we haven't been able to show you for quite a while. It hasn't been very clear. Some of you will know that mountain range off to the west, and that's where we're going to go and do some exploring, as well as in the Kruger National Park, so looking forward to a week break. So maybe the Hyena Den in the morning, but I also think we're going to certainly probably pop across to Inyala Road South, which is where we got that glimpse of Karula, just to see if there's any further sign of her in the general area. And it'll be very nice to spend as much time there as possible, even though we may not get as much info as we would like from the sightings of her. At least by spending time there, we're just going to increase the likelihood of getting to know a little bit more about what's going on in and around that den. Time to say goodbye, and thank you very much to everyone involved, including Jerry, who directed the show, Nikki, who lended her hand, well done Andrew on camera, and of course to all of you for joining us. And if it wasn't for you joining, these safaris wouldn't be possible. So thanks for not only joining, but also for contributing and interacting with us. And we will see you all for the sunrise safari in the morning. Toodaloo.